Is earnings season and RAKBANK reporting within the past 24 hours. Quarterly income or quarterly net profit. Here are the numbers for Q2 2025, up 22% to 669 million dirhams. The CEO is Raheel Ahmed. He's in the studio. Morning, Raheel.
Good morning, Richard.
How did you achieve this?
So broad-based momentum across all segments, but in particular, our corporate bank is doing very, very well. So we had very good growth on the corporate side, as well as business and personal. So we haven't seen any letdown in momentum, whether it's mortgages, whether it's new business accounts. We opened another 11,500 accounts in the first half, or whether it's corporate banking, where our assets grew by almost 20%.
I mean, this is growth. If we look at total assets, in my simple terms, that's the amount of money you lend. I know it's more complicated than that, but it's up by 18% year on year to almost 100 billion, just shy of 100 billion dirhams. Now, the economy's doing well here in the UAE. It's growing for maybe 5% even. Yeah. But 18% is 4x of the growth of the economy. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so as I said, RAKBANK got into wholesale banking a little later than other banks. So we started our journey 5-6 years ago. So we have seen around a 33% growth in our wholesale bank, corporate bank assets, where we have built a very, very strong franchise now. The other segments like retail and business banking have grown 3 times sort of GDP, so 12 to 15%.
How come? Are you stealing market share from other lenders?
I would say some of it, yes, but I think the market is growing, and as you can see with the infrastructure, with construction, with hospitality, there is so much growth happening across sectors. You have seen that the government budgets across all emirates and federally are at their record highest, and therefore that's also contributing to very significant growth in large projects, and we are in the middle of funding and financing those as well.
The 11,500 new accounts in H1 that you mentioned, business and personal?
Business only.
Business only. Are they? Could you give us a rough back of the envelope split of what is new companies, new businesses, and what are established companies who might be coming over from other lenders?
Yeah, so 70% of the accounts that we open, business accounts, are new companies. 30% are existing companies where they may be changing, a bank, or they may be adding more to their banking relationships because they're growing and they need more than one bank.
Is the feeling that they are existing residents setting up new companies, entrepreneurs, etc., or that they are new companies coming into the UAE?
I think it's 60-70%, Brandy, is new people coming into the country and setting it up, and maybe around 1/3 is people who are already here and setting up businesses. You are naturally seeing a lot of diversity of the types of businesses. So freelance visas now is around, I think the UAE has issued more than 100,000 freelance visas. So the type of businesses are changing rapidly as well.
Non-performing loans, bad debts.
Yeah.
The numbers are good at the moment. Less than 1%, 0.7%. That's down significantly from the same period last year. I mean, that's, if you like, Goldilocks for a bank, isn't it? Your loans and assets are increasing well into double digits, and your non-performing loans are decreasing as a percentage of that.
That's right. We are in a benign environment. I know I've been saying this for the last 3.5 years. I've been coming to both of you. But we do remain in a very benign credit environment, and it's across the board, corporate businesses and retail itself. But some of it is also because the mix of our business has changed. So we are a much bigger mortgage lender. We are a much bigger corporate lender. So while we are still doing the unsecured loans and the unsecured credit cards and all, but there are a much smaller portfolio of our franchise now.
Corporate lending, all well and good, lower risk, but also, of course, lower margin as well.
That's right.
And yet profit is increasing by 22%. How do you grow the corporate book, which has a lower profit margin, and still maintain those profit margins for the group?
Yeah. So two things. One, if you see our CASA deposits or our current account saving accounts has grown by 12%. So that's naturally comes at a lower cost. And we have one of the highest CASA ratios in the market at around 66%. Secondly, as we shall see in our profit reports, our fee income has grown very significantly. So whether it's wealth, whether it's FX, whether it's Forex, whether it's corporate fees. We have grown a lot on the fee side as well, and that's driving momentum. On the interest income side, given that we had a 100 basis point rate cut, we are almost flat to where we were last year. So we have cushioned the impact by the growth in the balance sheet.
Well, let's talk about some of the risks. And you talk about these in the release that came with these numbers. You talk about geopolitics. You also talk, though, about the interest rate environment and how we may be in a declining interest rate environment. If Donald Trump gets his way, an aggressively declining interest rate environment. Why is that in your list of risks?
So one is that it naturally impacts the profitability of the bank, right? I mean, especially if you're sitting at 66% current account ratios, any decline in interest rate means less margin for the bank. So that is one. The second is that it does help on the asset side in terms of growth, because the cost of credit goes down for consumers, so that creates an opportunity. But I think it also the currency volatility and other things also become a little bit more pronounced if interest rate starts going down.
Yeah, and certainly the dirham and the dollar are significantly weaker, particularly against European currencies at the moment, the euro, the Swiss franc, the British pound, less so against Asian currencies like the Indian and Pakistani rupees. How is that playing out?
So it depends on where you're from, Richard. If you're sending money back to the UK, naturally you're sending less. But if you're sending money back to Pakistan or India, you're sending a bit more, right? So I think as it depends on the trade corridors and where you're from. I think we are seeing more Europeans buying property, for example, here, because if you're coming from that side, it becomes cheaper for you to buy if you're pegged to the dollar. So it becomes more attractive for European tourists, for European visitors to come here and spend a bit more money than they would have last year.
Finally, a quick word about the economy of Ras Al Khaimah, your hometown. I know Dubai is a big base for you. One of your headquarters is here. But Ras Al Khaimah and what we're seeing there, partly with the Wynn Resort development, but others as well. Yeah. Is that translating into economic activity, into more activity for you there?
It is certainly. There's lots going on there, and I think Wynn is creating an amplified impact, but there's lots more happening. I think we have now up to 12 five-star hotels. Occupancy rates are high. Average revenue per hotel a hotel room has gone up as the shift sort of goes more upscale. And still continues to be a brilliant staycation destination for lots of UAE residents, right? Even in the summers, and that translates into a lot of economic activity and for the bank as well.
Just very quickly before you let you go, it is to use your words, a benign environment at the moment, but I've got a long memory. 10 years ago, it was not. 10 years ago, 2015 was brutal for banks here in the UAE. The SME loan, can we call it a crisis? These things do turn. They are cyclical. What plans are you making for when the cycle does turn?
Yeah. So the regulatory environment is much, much more robust. So if you look at our provision loss coverage ratio, we are sitting at 283%. We have loss coverage ratio of 283% against our provision. Our gross provisions versus gross loans is sitting at above 5%. So I have enough provision on the balance sheet to write off 5% of my total debt that I have given out. So the regulatory environment is very robust now. I think the credit bureau and the maturity of bankruptcy regulation is also shields a little bit of that, people leaving the country if they can't pay. I think that will go away. But as a bank, we are very, very well capitalized, and we have significant reserves to have any impact if that comes. Although my personal view is that it will not be as steep or as deep as we have seen it in the past, because we are in a much more mature economy now.
Raheel, great talking to you. Appreciate your time this morning.
Pleasure.
Profit up 22% in the second quarter at RAKBANK. Raheel Ahmed is the Group CEO of RAKBANK. Thank you.
Pleasure to be with you.